finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo, no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Heinmarsh.
Cheers. We are off to another Doctales with Cocktails episode this week. So glad you're here. And we're toasting our anniversary.
29 years today. Well, when you hear this, it'll be 29 years and 3 days.
Yeah. Well, so what? Still 29 years, right?
Yeah, it's still 29 years.
You're sounding really excited about it.
Well, I am. No, I'm thrilled.
We're a little punky because we just got off the long plane ride home. And so we're packing this episode out for you. We are doing our 21st episode, and this one is going to be fun because I've been reading a bunch of crazy things in the news. There's all kinds of stuff coming out with COVID, things happening, news in the world, incentives. There's a lot of craziness, and I'm calling this one Covidiots Part 2, or Heroes and Zeros. In other words...
Or mostly zeros.
Winners and losers. So Tim is going to get to vote on it. So we're going to do it a little differently today because he doesn't really know what I'm going to throw at him, and he's going to get to see what kind of fast pitch is coming in and vote on it. But before we dive into the show, let's talk about our sponsor today who lets us be here, which is Larry Keller from Physician Financial Services. It's a business widely recognized in the physician community for disability insurance. Lawrence B. Keller, CFP, has been in the insurance and financial services industry since 1990. Wow. Unlike medicine, which has a standardized path that physicians must take to gain the education, training, and experience requirements necessary to obtain board certification, the insurance and financial service industry does not. So while he might not be a doctor's first phone call regarding their insurance needs, he is often, sadly, their last. So find Larry at drpodcastnetwork.com/Larry Keller. That's drpodcastnetwork.com/LarryKeller. Or at the link in the description at the show. Larry's been our sponsor numerous times, and we are thankful for him. Well, let's get into this, Tim. So I've got all kinds of different news items, and I'm gonna throw your way. The first category on the COVID trend. Well, first, before I get into that, is do you know how many cases we're up to now?
In the United States or in the world?
Worldwide.
No.
167, almost 168 million coronavirus cases.
Well, but it depends on how you define a case. If a case is a positive test, then that's true.
Yep. So
but does that mean anyone was sick?
Yeah. So this is Worldometer. Deaths. Do you know how many worldwide deaths there have been?
167 million. So there'd be what, like 3 million?
It's almost 3.5 million, just shy of 3.5 million. Of course, most of those are recovered. But
how many babies were born in 2020?
I don't know.
100 million.
Really?
How many of them got severe COVID?
Probably.
Of the 100 million babies that were born. Newborns, 2020s, 2020 models.
I don't know.
0.
I was going to say probably I was going to guess 2, 0. Huh. Well, yeah, and India's getting hit really hard right now.
Not really. They got hit really hard for about several weeks, and then it started to come back down right away. It's really weird. No one knows why. They don't know if it's because they give out the ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine kits that you can literally walk into a pharmacy and pick up if you have symptoms, which they started, spreading like crazy once this last surge came, or if it's just demographics because they have parts of their country where states in their country where the average age is 28.
Well, the total cases still worldwide, the U.S. tops tops that off. Yay, go USA.
Well, that's because we did the most testing.
I think we're the most unhealthy, too.
Well, no, yes. We lead, when you lead the world in testing and McDonald's eating greasy fat people.
That's what you get. Almost 34 million cases
But-
in the U.S. And then followed by India. And number 3 is Brazil.
Yeah, but you can make an argument that the number of cases India has is reported cases is less than half what actually were, like, because most of that country can't test.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, then what gets really crazy, though, instead of cases, it's the actual by population, the deaths per million population.
Well, deaths per million population
That's
is
when-
an actual real number.
That's when everything changes. When I click the button and you see deaths per million population, then we talked about this earlier today. Whoa, like it flips upside down, and the number 1 country is Hungary for deaths per million. And then Bosnia, Herzegovina, Czechia, Gibraltar, San Marino. Where's San Marino?
It's next to Gran Torino.
Funny. North Macedonia. I mean, all these countries that you wouldn't think about.
Yeah, but look at that, though. There's a bit of a trend. There's a lot of Eastern Europe in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because this has been one of the things, right? Like, if it's purely age that kills you in COVID, then Japan should have the worst numbers of anybody because they have probably the most aged population in the entire world. And their numbers of death per million is
I'm
incredible.
scrolling, trying to find
is incredibly low. It's one of the lowest in the entire world.
Right.
So there's a theory when they look at this and they go, okay, is it because you don't smoke or you do smoke? Well, no, Japan they have a very high smoking rate, but they live long because they're lean and they eat a ton of fish and whatever else, right? But a lot of this comes what people are theorizing is it comes down to genetics, and so one of the theories is, especially if you're like the 44-year-old congressman that just got elected and then he died, like he got COVID and he's texting and he's fine, and then like a week later he's dead, is because they have, whatever it is, certain people have a genetic predisposition to produce autoantibodies to the spike proteins, and then those are the people that get super rapid lung failure and die. Regardless of, those are the 35-year-old that was running a marathon and then 2 weeks later he's dead. Okay, there's hardly any of those people, but they absolutely exist. It's the same in kids. It's like the kids that get the really wicked myocarditis or the really bad lung disease that doesn't make any sense. And one of the theories is, well, in Japan, they're just genetically able to deal with this. And in Eastern Europe, I mean, they have an elderly population. They smoke a lot. They have obese people and so forth. But honestly, it makes you wonder. These are countries that have a much more uniform sort of genetic blend. They're much less blended than United States, Canada, Australia, UK. And you're like, well, maybe it's just genetics. And Eastern Europeans might be hosed. I don't know.
Well, or maybe they don't have here's the other thing. Just think of their medical facilities that they have, and that some of those countries support therapy. I mean, anyway.
There's no question
there's so many factors. So many. But let's get into the lighter side of things.
Yeah, because we could go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know. So I need to reel you in.
Well, right, because this is Doctales with Cocktails, which is either are we celebrating or are we just drinking because we're depressed?
Well, probably both by the time I get through this. So I'm going to throw some warm-up balls to you to begin with. So here's some fun, crazy stuff that's going on in countries around the world that have some interesting stuff. France, curfew and movement restrictions. So in Paris, they've had a lockdown there, and they have things closed, and the nationwide curfew has kept people home from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. every night since mid-January, and businesses are closing, and, they have masks, etc. So that is kind of what's going on in France with the curfew. Is that
because obviously
winners or losers?
Because obviously COVID is nocturnal like raccoons. It only comes out at night. So if you keep people...
Well, then in March, things got crazier there where people had to download and fill out a form each time they needed to leave their house. Police would check the forms to make sure a person had a legitimate reason to be outside and issued fines up to $150 for violations.
Okay. If
you could only be within a 2-kilometer radius of your home.
If you were a criminal, that is Christmas morning for criminals. It is. It's Christmas morning for criminals because it's like
Well,
the
you couldn't
police.
leave your house.
The police are chasing down
Oh.
paperwork to see if you got to leave your freaking house, and they're not chasing actual criminals.
That's because the criminals were locked at home. And besides, recreational cycling was also banned, so the criminals couldn't be on bikes. Because, you know, where we live, there's a lot of criminals on bikes.
Well, where we live, there's only criminals on bikes.
All right. Abu Dhabi. They use tracking wristbands. I know that actually we met someone today that told us about tracking wristbands in various countries. But basically, if you are coming into the country and you're having to do the 10-day mandatory home quarantine, all travelers have to undergo not just thermal screening and COVID-19 testing, but then they put on it's like a Hunger Games tracker jacket, wrist tracker. They put it on you, and they can monitor what you are doing at home.
How do you do temperature screening in Abu Dhabi when it's like 150 degrees all the time? It's like, do you feel hot like you have a fever? Yeah, because I always feel hot like I have a fever because it's freaking Abu Dhabi.
I'll just leave it at that. Mexico, junk food crackdown. A number of states in Mexico took steps to ban the sale and marketing of junk food and sugary drinks to minors because of concern that health conditions such as diabetes and obesity were putting people at higher risk for COVID.
Well, of course,
the law applied to stores and school vending machines.
Right. So, of course, 2 weeks of banning junk food is going to cure all the diabetics and fat people. If that was the case.
So, thumbs down for you, huh? Spain, they had rules on gathering, smoking, and speaking. It said that they wouldn't allow gatherings of over 6 people. It was banned, curfews in place, at night. Nightclubs closed, banned smoking in outdoor public spaces. And the health minister said it was concerned that smokers could transfer the virus to other people in droplets as they exhaled their smoke. Anyway. They also had to refrain from speaking, eating, and drinking in public to prevent further spread
Is that
of the
like
virus.
Justin Genius Trudeau's speaking moistly? When you're speaking moistly?
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
These are all recent? I'm assuming this isn't from last year. This is like right now.
Yes, there's a few from the fall, but these are all from like March. And current. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. But this is here's another one. Panama. They alternated men's and women's days. This is one of my favorite. So they announced they would only let people go out according to their sex, and they had to have these national ID cards, I guess, to identify their sex. I don't know. But it said that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, women could leave their home to buy necessities, and men could go out on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But everyone stayed home on Sunday.
What if you're gender non-binary?
I guess they don't struggle with that over there, or I guess you get to go out any day you want.
Well, then I guess I'm gender non-binary.
And here you go. I'm skipping ahead. South Africa banned liquor sales and cigarettes. Tim, you would have been doomed. And then
Whoa! Slow down. So. Like, how does banning liquor and cigarettes have anything to do with COVID? Like, this is just all random crap that they decided that, people are too drunk or they should quit smoking, South
African government said reckless behavior due to alcohol intoxication has contributed to increased transmission. Alcohol-related accidents and violence are putting pressure on the hospital, which I agree. But they also said that they wanted to help try to prevent respiratory problems related to cigarette smoking. So I guess they're concerned that people are...
But did they ever talk to a doctor? Do you know what happens to people the second they stop smoking? Their respiratory problems get worse, not better.
Yeah.
Because your lungs come back to life and you start coughing all this crap up. So they'd be coughing even more mucus-laden
they're trying to
COVID.
look out for the health of their people, get them to quit smoking by banning their cigarettes.
By banning stuff.
Forget when it's flu season or any other time.
Because banning stuff always works. That's never been a problem, right? Like the 1920s when we had alcohol prohibition, it worked perfect.
Exactly.
Right? It never made any big criminal gangs or anything.
Okay. Here you go. I like this one. Brazil decided to ban pillows.
They also decided to ban a tremendous amount of body hair. thus the Brazilian.
Oh, you. I'm like, what has that got to do with COVID?
Nothing, but some people find it attractive.
I think it's for sanitary reasons, but not COVID. Not COVID sanitary reasons. Hey, in Brazil, listen to this. They basically came up with this thing with the aviation industry, and it was a move that seemed to be aimed more towards teenagers traveling as part of some school trip. I don't know. They apparently banned pillows on aircraft, and it said that it was a partner, I guess, with U.S. Airlines, and the airlines don't reuse pillows without sanitizing them first, and they couldn't do that with COVID and clean and disinfect them. So on international flights, I guess, they got freaked out and wouldn't let even passengers bring their own pillows or like neck pillows on board either. They just like said nobody could bring any kind of pillow, like no neck pillow, no kids with pillows, because it might be COVID laden or couldn't be clean. I don't know. So now we're banning pillows.
This stuff is so random. Like, it's so incredibly random. Like, where does it come from? Okay, let's just ban the pillows now.
Yeah.
And does anyone ever say, you know what? If it's really this bad, then these mitigation strategies don't really matter. Because it's fascinating when you actually look at any kind of studies on masks, on studies on even quarantines. If you look at studies on masks and surgical infections, okay? Like, this is stuff that's old. Like, studies that are 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, in using masks in surgery, it doesn't matter. What matters in surgery, if you don't want surgical infections, is like washing your hands, wearing gloves, doing the surgery quickly. Masks, there's zero evidence masks make a difference in surgery. It's fascinating. What really matters, if you're not wearing a mask in surgery, is that you're not talking.
Interesting.
So, like,
and that never happens.
Your breathing does. Yeah, you have to talk. You have to communicate.
Yeah, no kidding.
But at the same time, it's droplets. That's it. Like, the only thing you can infect a patient with that you could prevent with a mask in a surgery when you're like over their opened body is if you're drooling like some sort of, oral secretion into them or sweating into the patient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there hasn't been evidence even in surgical studies that they can show. Now, it's hard. Like, okay, and these aren't the greatest studies. I'll give you that. It's not like you can randomize this and have – it's impossible to randomize because you can't or at least blind it. You can't blind it, right? You can't have, a holographic mask on half the people, so you don't really know. But they've actually looked at this stuff over decades, and that's the thing. And then you look at the states that were open and the states that were closed. I mean, Michigan has been one of the most closed states of all, and it has some of the most harsh, regulatory mitigation strategies, and they're getting hammered. Okay, and Florida and Texas,
they mustn't have banned the pillows.
Well, no, but here's the thing, and this is where the Canadians should be really, really nervous, which is what's been completely ignored by the medical intelligentsia is natural herd immunity. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Now natural herd immunity is the single thing that stopped every single pandemic in the history of mankind. Right? Eventually, enough people get infected that your R0 number gets to a point where it gets transmitted less and less and less, and then it's not in a pandemic situation anymore, and it burns itself out. It's like a forest fire, right? What do you do with a forest fire? What's the best mitigation strategy in forest fires? It's not dumping as much water on it as you can. It's cutting a fire break so the fire burns itself out. It uses up the fuel, right? It's exactly the same thing. You use up the fuel. Enough people get natural herd immunity that you use the fuel, it can't spread anymore, okay? That's how it works. That's how it's worked for gazillions of years. Now, we have been led to believe by the medical intelligentsia that the only way to herd immunity is through a vaccine. Okay? That is completely counterintuitive and is utterly lacking of common sense. So you look at the states that were the most open, and now they're having unbelievably low rates. I mean, Florida's 17 million people, and they had 40 deaths the other day. Like, they're almost down to 0 deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of old people in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're natural herd immunity. And then when the vaccines came, the vaccines just pushed that that envelope of natural herd immunity into like the herd immunity stage almost instantly. Same with Texas. As soon as you had widespread vaccine use, you already had, who knows, maybe half your people that have had some level of immunity or cross immunity from a COVID infection, 10 years ago or who knows what. And then you add the vaccine to that and you just push everyone off the tipping point is reached.
Push them all off the ledge. Is that what you're going to say?
Well, it's the tipping point as far as burning up the fuel, and that's how it works. And those like that upward trend when you're having increasing infections is, an exponential curve. Well, it does the same thing on the other side. It drops off rapidly.
Right.
And so.
Yeah.
But of course, governments need stuff to do, so you can't take a pillow on a Brazilian. I need a pillow when I get a Brazilian.
You can't take a pillow on a
when I get my Brazilian, I need a pillow. Or Brazilian
Airlines. Please, everybody listening, just wipe that thought from your brain. So
you don't think I'd look good?
With a pillow covering your Brazilian, yeah. It's more like a diaper on.
That's always
I'm
like
thinking of Family Guy with a diaper on.
It's always like when they have those what are those restaurants like the Brazilian barbecue or whatever it is, and they go, that's where the cow has the beef has zero hair, and I'm like, it's kind of how I want my beef.
Oh my goodness. Well, South Africa's got some more good stuff for you, other than banning the cigarettes and alcohol. Being told what to wear on your face and hands is bad enough. Because I skipped that one because some countries, not only do they have to wear masks, but they had to wear gloves continuously. I think it was Russia and the Ukraine. But South Africa also banned shops from selling anything but closed-toed shoes. You couldn't sell open-toe shoes. Short-sleeve shirts were only allowed if they were promoted or displayed to be worn under jackets or jerseys. And I don't know how many cases of coronavirus have been tracked to super spreaders from toes, super spreaders.
I have
But
unbelievably.
they came up with these clothing regulations. It just seemed insane.
Okay, so
the author of this article is making me laugh because he said there's some solace for South Africans today. However, when the country's alcohol and cigarette ban was finally lifted, a stiff drink is surely needed. I mean, this is insanity.
You're in Cape Town. Cape Town, right? That was the perfect wave. At the end of endless summer, where did they find the perfect wave? They found the perfect wave in Cape Town. And you can't wear your frickin' flip-flops?
No.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah.
Toe Jam is somehow, laden with the COVIDs?
Yep, sorry. Yeah, there is, a lot of stuff. Some of it's old news. Some of it's pretty funny.
Why don't we get back to close to home and the absolute complete...
Yeah, we're going to get to that, but let's move a little closer to home to talk about what's been happening, our neighbors to the north and our family up in Canada. So they're starting to get hit now because they don't have access to the vaccine.
Because they've been so shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the theories. One of the theories is you just have to get to a certain level of natural herd immunity, and the vaccine is the cherry on top. And so they've gone all in, and they may be right. They may win the prize. I look, anyone that speaks with absolute authority on COVID, they're lying because this is real time, and we don't have real data.
Right, we're just actually kind of.
But one of the theories
critiquing what they're doing,
right.
But now they are locking down the provinces, which is the states. So they are controlling. They've done the lockdowns locally, and you can't leave your house, and you can't have your boyfriend and girlfriend over, or you get fined.
Unless you have a glory hole.
Exactly. I guess they just stand outside then. They can't come in the house.
Oh, it's really cold, eh? My bum's getting cold because I had to pull my pants down for the glory hole. Can you send me a Labatt?
Stop. All right. So now in BC, they put up checkpoints. COVID-19 checkpoints over the long weekend that they had there. Their long weekend was before ours. And they turned them back. And it went on to say that they were trying not to give anybody fines at these checkpoints. But I guess 2 people evaded the police and they failed to stop and went, blasting through the checkpoints. That carried a hefty $230 fine.
So slow down here.
But someone did get in trouble. What?
So you're saying, BC, British Columbia, so the border between British Columbia and Alberta, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the highways that go in between, they have like legitimate police stopping people because they don't want the Albertans, the filthy, COVID-riddled person from Calgary, to drive to Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. There's like 5 checkpoints that I'm showing here in the inner mainland in the mountain.
Do you know how
over the mountains?
Do you know how big that border is? Every single province in Canada is like the size of Texas.
I mean, it's going along.
It's a lot of Mounties. Again, criminal Christmas.
Yeah, it's so.
Sorry, you can't come into BC because you might have the COVID.
So then someone was going from North Van over to Vancouver Island, and it wasn't deemed essential, and they left their home and tried to catch the ferry and head over across. And not only did they get stopped and checked, they were speeding, so that's why they got pulled over. But they got a $575 ticket under the Emergency Program Act because they were breaking the non-essential travel rule. So, not because they were speeding, but because they weren't supposed to be going to the island, so they got a fine. So, in other words,
you understand. You understand 100%. Canada is screwed. Is 100% screwed. This doesn't work. This won't work. You can do super aggressive contact tracing like Sweden did, where they didn't close anything down and they tracked people with phones, and you can do that and keep your economy going and keep schools open and all that, and that kind of works. Closing your border to foreigners
this wasn't
works
even going,
unbelievably well.
This was just going over to the island, but it was like
no, but
you don't need
but like
to go.
you're already in British Columbia, but that's the thing, that is just like there's a point where it doesn't work because you can't shut it down enough. Like the countries that were wildly successful in mitigation closed their international borders because they were able to, right? And then you have 2 strategies. You wait for the vaccine and you vaccinate everyone and you hope to God that it works as good as they say. And then you open up and hope to God that your hospitals don't blow up. Okay? Right? Or you close your society, like you shut your international borders like Taiwan, but you still have everyone going to work. You're making a bunch of stuff. You have a wild export industry and you export a bunch of products and you stay alive. And then you don't necessarily vaccinate everybody. And you just wait for everyone else in the world to get it until it goes away, and then you don't get it, right? That's the only options you have. Mm-hmm. If you're the UK, if you're Eastern Europe, if you're the United States, it's impossible. You can't shut down the entire United States, like essentially the hub of the world economy and business, or entirely shut down China forever. They didn't. They shut down parts of China, and then they just stopped testing, and they're like, whatever. Right? And then they gave them the Sinovax, which is horrible.
I guess I'm just thinking, when you have a country the size of California, it's easier to control people and keep them locked in.
Yeah, but the problem is you have a country with the population of you have a country with the population of California and the second biggest landmass in the world next to Russia.
Exactly.
Right? Like Canada is what, 50% more landmass? Now, a lot of that nothing lives on other than, penguins and polar bears.
There's no penguins up there.
Okay, well, polar bears and seals.
And those...
And, the natives that do that breathing thing,
Yeah, the Inuit,
I mean,
yes.
it's so unbelievable. Well, you can't say Eskimo anymore because that's bad.
I said Inuit.
Yeah, whatever. I'll pick the, politically.
You have to be politically correct now.
Okay, yeah. So, some of that gigantic landmass is incredibly sparsely populated. What is it, 90% of the Canadian population lives within 200 miles of the U.S. border.
Exactly.
So it's just a little
But
thin.
I feel for them up there. I mean, it's just so crazy.
Well, I mean, look at our family. Look at our family. So my mother becomes ill, gets diagnosed with a terminal diagnosis. My brother and I live here. We can't go up to see her. So I haven't seen her in 2 years. And so she's in hospice which would have been a perfect time to go there and, take some of the load off my sisters and be with my mom. And I can't cross the border because I have to do a mandatory 14-day quarantine in their quarantine hotel.
And pay for it yourself.
And there's no guarantee that they'll let me in anyways. And on the Canadian government website, it says, we don't consider vaccination a mitigating strategy on entry to Canada. So if it's not a mitigating strategy for me to travel for 400 miles away, then maybe it's not a mitigating strategy for anything. Like, you're telling people that you don't believe that this works, but they should do it because it's safe and effective.
Yeah.
So,
it's only safe and effective till 70%. That's their magic number. Gets vaccinated. That's her to me.
Yeah, but it's 100% for me.
I know, but you are just part of.
And then I get to watch a funeral on an iPad, and they're outside, and it's maximum of 10 people gathering together outside. 10 people, all adults,
with
all wearing masks in a 15-mile-an-hour wind in bright sunshine. Like, you're not transmitting.
Well,
Jack squat. Like, it's impossible.
It's posturing, and everybody looks safe.
No, it's theater, and that's the point. Like, when are people going to get pissed off enough to say this is theater?
Right.
This is theater. Like I get it, because you know what this does, and this is my biggest fear, is no one is going to trust any authority about anything ever again. And you know what? This is exactly like the opioid crisis. That one's, people tried to blame Purdue Pharma, and they have a tremendous amount of guilt. I get that. But that one lays 100%. The genesis of the opioid epidemic is 100% on the backs of doctors. Mm-hmm. We did that. We went along with that. We listened to experts. We didn't look at studies. There was no one crying in the wilderness saying this is not evidence-based medicine, and we killed millions of people. And we made an insatiable appetite for opiates so that fentanyl could come in and kill even more people. That one's on us because no one called bullshit on it. I mean, we went to meetings with our own group, and they were like, when we got here, the state of Oregon was telling us how to prescribe more opiates.
No, I know. It was insane.
You do a terrible job of treating pain and all the rest of this. And this is exactly the same. You have to have dissent because no one is 100% correct. Fauci's not 100% correct. I'm absolutely not 100% correct. You have to have dissenting voices. That's how you tease out what the real answer is.
I'm with you. I mean, if you have 100% of people in agreement, you're in trouble, no matter what it is in medicine.
Well, and the groupthink,
yeah.
and the banning of people that disagree. Like, I don't care how crazy you are. Usually, like, you at stuff on Facebook, it's usually obvious if it's really crazy.
Exactly. Well, that'll be enough to drive us to have a cocktail. I think you need another sip to calm down. What we are drinking this evening and sipping on is Tim's. I don't know how did you find this? He bought.
It's from one of my good friends.
Okay, his good friend
was a referral.
Sent him home with 2 bottles of this stuff, and he poured me some, and I went, First taste on my lips was like a espresso vodka caramely flavor. That's what I'm getting, but it's not. It is called Screwball Whiskey, and you got that thing if you want to read it there. It basically is someone invented this whiskey that's peanut butter flavored because they were making some kind of concoction. It was a bartender that invented this.
Bartender owned a bar. He
I don't get peanut butter in it at all.
He'd make a peanut butter and whiskey shot, and he's like, him and his wife were like, man, I think we could sell this. They figured it out. Technically, it is a base spirit with a bunch of flavors into it.
And it tastes like caramel to me, but some people, the reviews, when they taste test this, they're saying that it's basically like a Reese's peanut butter cup with sugar on top. It's super sweet. You would drink this like an after dinner, just sip it like a cognac brandy. I mean, I have it on ice.
Yeah,
and it's just not.
It really is. It really is good. But
I don't know what you'd even mix it with. It would like ice cream.
Yeah, it really is good. It's very tasty, but it's kind of like in the realm of sort of like Jaeger, where you're not. You drink it because it has a certain flavor. But
Jaeger's like mouthwash. This is actually really smooth. I mean, when he said it was whiskey, I was like, no way, because I hate whiskey. So to me, it tastes like a kind of a yummy, smooth liqueur, caramely with a bit of, I mean, it has peanuts in it. There's a peanut warning. But it is cute. It's got the little, is that a sheep on the front of it? To the Misfits, Black Sheep, and Screwballs is on the front. Yeah, I guess it's a sheep.
Yeah, and of course it's Screwball, so it's great. Like you look at their marketing, and it's like get screwed.
But yeah, I mean, it's super fun. Something totally different. I would have never thought to even go and buy that.
It is incredibly nuanced though in the roasted peanut world. Like if you sip this like you would sip whiskey, it really does have these other flavors that come. That part's amazing. Where it's tough is if you're used to actually drinking whiskey, especially drinking it neat,
Mm-hmm.
and then you drink this, it's totally different. I mean, because this is really, really sweet. So this is more like a, after dinner kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not, I'm gonna drink a little bit of scotch and smoke
And
a
so,
cigar.
how much? Do you know how much your friend paid for this bottle? Your friend. Can you remember?
I don't.
Do you have any idea? Just to let
I think it's about $28 for a fifth.
Okay.
So it's not. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not. I mean, it's similar price to flavored vodkas or flavored, whiskeys. Because now they have apple whiskey and all this other kind of.
So there you go. You can say you're a whiskey drinker even if you're not. You'll like it. Give it a try. So I've been impressed sipping on that one.
Screwball appropriate.
There you go. So, on this next half, let's get into some of the crazy, weird cures and treatments for COVID that are out there. Have you heard of anything good? Because I got a pile for you here.
No.
No.
I want to hear the weird. I want to hear the weird stuff, like Eye of Newt and like.
Yeah. So I guess in India right now, the big thing going on is that Indian doctors are warning against cow dung as a cure for COVID. That's the popular thing going on over there. So, India's got all kinds of things that they use for different treatments, and they have their little chakras and prayers, and there is they've got I saw prayer bracelets. Then there's different herbs. If you mix them up and crush them up and mix them with milk, that works. But the one that kind of got me going and really grosses me out is there's a picture here of an Indian Hindu woman who's drinking actually cow urine, because actually cows are sacred in
right,
India.
but they'll mix. That's a Hindu ceremony, isn't it, where they mix the urine, the milk, and the dung together?
Mm-hmm. But now what they're finding is that people are actually going, and even doctors, apparently they say we see even doctors come here, and their belief is that this therapy improves their immunity, and then they can go and tend to patients with no fear.
Well, it improves their immunity to shit.
So there's the cow dung and urine mixture washed with milk, and participants wait for the dung and urine mixture on their bodies to dry.
You don't eat this?
No, they put it on. They coat their bodies with it.
Even better.
They drink the urine, but the cow dung, they like literally cake themselves with it like a mud bath, and then they hug and honor the cows at the shelter, and practice yoga to boost their energy levels.
Okay, now just let's keep an open mind. What if this actually is the cure for COVID?
Well,
then literally, I want to see like Pelosi and Biden doing the dung hug.
Oh, I mean, I was going to say something politically
that would
incorrect,
be
but
just,
I'm not going to.
That would be
go
just
there.
amazing, right? Like Fauci.
I think all of them.
You got to coach
All of
yourself
them.
with shit.
All of them. They should. Now, the Indian Medical Association president there did say there's no concrete scientific evidence that it works to boost immunity, but it's based entirely on beliefs.
How would you blind that randomized trial?
Now,
No, that guy.
I'm not sure.
That guy's in the control group. He's not coated with shit.
You just have to make it smell like it. Oh my gosh.
No.
So this is
no,
what they
that,
warned.
That was not cow shit. That was the control group. That was rabbit shit.
would be
totally
vomiting.
different
You know
effect.
me, I can't stand the smell of it. I would be throwing up as it is. I'm just almost gagging reading this. And then, of course, they have to say this. They have to say there are also health risks involved in smearing or consuming these products. Other diseases can spread from the animal to humans.
You
Concern
think?
for, parasites and viruses and other
Brucellosis
bacteria
and TB.
and I'm just like, OMG, like, what is the world coming to? I mean, okay, so then they have garlic cloves, boiled in water, homebrew. Someone was having someone eat onions, and they have all these other foods that I can't even pronounce. Something made with honeysuckles and other pharmaceuticals. Here we go. Here's a Swami he actually, yes, I was wrong. He did say that consuming cow urine and cow dung will stop the effect of infectious coronavirus. That's
Because
what
you'll
the Swami
be
said.
dead.
So I'm just like reading this, laughing my head off. And I mean, I don't understand their culture, so maybe it is really disrespectful. But when I read about they have these cow pee drinking parties, a Hindu group was having a cow urine drinking party on Saturday because they believe it wards off the coronavirus, and because of the
But if you look, but honestly, like here, like seriously, I'll play devil's advocate. Like
I almost want to throw up thinking about it.
Well, exactly, but again, like I think the cultural thing is really fascinating, and it's easy to look, we're mocking this, but we mock our own selves personally
Yes.
and our own culture. So I feel that we're equal opportunity mockers, but at the same time, look at India. Like India is really weird in the coronavirus world. Like they had unbelievable low number of deaths per million people. They had this blip that was. Everyone's like, oh, no, this is it. It's going to keep going up, and they might reach, the whatever it is, 50 per, I can't remember, 50 per 100,000 or whatever the numbers are, 5,000 per
Right.
million or whatever.
I know, but come
everyone
on.
needs
I
to
mean,
meet that.
I get the garlic, and we're talking about
right.
the homemade cocktails.
But
of
you can understand this.
garlic
This is like
and
in a Hindu,
onions, but urine.
right? No, I mean
That's just like a fear factor, whole other level. And
it is, but it's still. I mean, I'm not saying it works. I'm not advocating drinking urine, even though it is our anniversary. But I'm saying that well, you should see her face now. It's so awesome.
it's
29 years, and I can still surprise
It's
her.
a good thing this is not on video for lots of reasons. But no, I totally understand.
And that's ancient. Like Hindu culture is like that is
Right,
super ancient, and they have had these sort of. They've had these, cow-based ceremonies for thousands and thousands of years. So why wouldn't they go to that? Like, I mean, I think it illustrates a point, though, which is people go, in a state of fear, people go to, you kind of go to your base, right? You go to what you believe in.
Right.
Right? And if that's the culture, why wouldn't you go there? Like, of course that's where you're going to go, right? Because that's what's been your culture for thousands and thousands of years. So you're absolutely scared, and you're like, oh my gosh, we could kill, millions and millions of people in India with a population of 1 billion people and so much poverty and all the rest of it. So why wouldn't they go there? Like, I think, part of it is easy to make fun of because smearing yourself with cow dung seems way over the limit. But at the same time, I don't think that anything that we're doing here, and some of the stuff that we're doing here, is any less irrational.
Correct.
At all.
Yeah, and so that's what we're going to get to next. Outside of treatments is some of the incentives to get people vaccinated, because that has gone off the rails. And see what you think of that. Okay, so I mean, there's everything. Like, I've looked everywhere around the world to around this country, and since we're still in the international plane, I don't have it in front of me, but I was also laughing with COVID and vaccine incentives and what they're trying to do to get people to get the vaccine and giving away everything, from free food, free drinks, free marijuana. And
So that was New York, right? New York.
no,
is
I'm
giving away,
talking other countries right now.
other countries, you get free weed if you get vaccinated.
Then I think it was in India. It was an Asian country. This was cute. They were giving the women free gold nose rings, but the men, what they got was a blender, a handheld blender. And I'm not kidding. It has a picture. Like I zoom in on this thing, and I'm like a blender. Is it something else I'm thinking of for something? No, it is a cute little like handheld blender for whipping your lattes or your chai tea. Yeah, came in a cute little box, a blender.
So
here's the
thing.
I want the gold. You can have the blender.
Yeah, but again, this illustrates the point that Dr. McCullough had mentioned before, which is the entire world has kind of collectively lost its mind in the same way, which is mind-blowing, right? Like the idea of giving any incentive at all, like regardless of whether it's like, Ohio and Oregon that you can get $1 million if you're vaccinated in a vaccine lottery, and a bunch of other cash prizes, or free weed, or free alcohol, or free hot dogs, or any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. Any incentive at all to participate in a study is entirely unethical and immoral.
Well,
and would be absolutely booted. Any reviewer would say this is complete. You would wipe your study. You would wipe your study out.
The U.S. wins because we are from what I can find, the biggest, like globally, what would be the word? We're incentivizing people, bribing them big time with. This is not a carrot. The stuff that they dangle is like even Krispy Kreme donut giveaways, McDonald's. The burger chain joined forces with New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, and they're offering New Yorkers free crinkle cut I can't even say crinkle cut fries. Say that fast. Crinkle cut fries. With the purchase of, burgers, Shack burgers, Krispy Kreme donuts, White Castle free dessert. I mean, this is peanuts, because then they started offering tickets to games, to various sporting events in New York City. And the next thing is then it's the lottery. So first of all, they have tickets to the Brooklyn Zoo, the Bronx Zoo, the Public Theater, the Lincoln Center, New York City football games. And then he's starting to give out tickets. They're called Scratch and Vax, I believe. And these tickets are like they get
a scratch it?
Yeah, it's called a Scratch and Vax. And no, so what did that's the name of this.
So Cuomo's giving out. So like you get a vaccine, you get to scratch it, and then you could win something. And
yeah,
it's like, hey, guess what? You won't die, but I already killed your grandma.
So and it's like not just $1 million lottery. You can win like $20, $10,000, and there's several states that have introduced lottery incentives. It's insane. But yeah,
look, this has an emergency use authorization. So if you sign the consent to get the COVID vaccine, it says on the consent that you're part of an ongoing trial. Okay? You can't incentivize people to be part of an ongoing trial. This should make everyone really, really scared and nervous. This doesn't make sense. You can't do this. Plus, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. Okay? If this was aerosolized Ebola, where you have a 75% of chance or whatever it is of dying if you get it, and you bleed out of your eyes and your nose and mouth and every hole in your body, okay? If it was Ebola that was aerosolized and you didn't have to have, fluid contact, would you have to pay people to get the frickin' vaccine? No, you wouldn't, because they'd be like, I want that thing as fast as I can. Give me like 8 needles. I don't care if I have the flu for 2 weeks, because I don't want to die of frickin' aerosolized Ebola.
I know this is the extremes that the country's gone to. Listen to this. Now, it's not just alone. Uber and Lyft are giving free rides to COVID-19 vaccine sites in a deal with the White House. That came out. This is from May 11th.
So they're not giving free rides. They're giving subsidized rides. That's not a free ride. So Uber and Lyft gets free advertising and gets their bills paid by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, isn't that nice?
So they have, they say the rides are part of President Biden's push to get 70% of American adults vaccinated by July. Well, he wants one shot.
I want to hear
Biden
say. I want to hear him say crinkle fries 3 times in succession, and then I'll believe something he says.
So they are actually, there's various places, but Uber and Lyft are partnering together and actually getting people to vaccine sites. And then the next is United Airlines is putting people in a drawing to give them free tickets around the world. I believe it is like you get 30 plane. Here it is. United Airlines is offering free flights for a year, I believe. And I think it's equivalent of like 30 tickets if you enter into this drawing, if you're vaccinated. So here we go. Vaccinated customers a chance to win a year of free flights in an effort to promote COVID-19 vaccines. It's called Your Shot to Fly Sweepstakes, the company said.
Okay, just time
it's
out.
It's 30 round-trip flights for two in any class of service to anywhere in the world that United flies.
I would be going to Australia in business class and then just flying back.
You just be traveling around the world for fun.
Okay, so here's the deal, though. Okay, here is the deal. All right, if they're gonna play, play stupid games, get stupid prizes. If the entire world, and especially these big companies and governments, are going to play the play stupid games, get stupid prizes game, then you know what? They're on the hook for this legally. And I honestly hope to God they have a COVID legal defense ETF, because I will buy shares in it. Because we don't know what's going. And I hope this does not happen. But you don't know. We have zero long-term data. We don't have 2-year data, 3-year data. We don't know what happens to women of childbearing age 3 years from now. We don't know what happens to pregnant women that were vaccinated that had a child 3 or 4 years from now. We don't know 20 years from now.
We laugh at this stuff, but it really freaks me out because people are like, "Oh, what the hell? I wasn't going to get the vaccine, but now I really want to win $1 million, or I want a plane ticket, so I'll just put myself at risk." So what gets me so frustrated is that people who would never, they're on the fence about getting the vaccine, and they're like, I could live without it either way. And now it's like, this is the thing that's going to just push them over the edge to go get the vaccine and say, oh, what the heck? Yeah, I want to win a plane ticket. Why not? Why not go get the vaccine so that I can be in a lottery to win $1 million? And then God forbid that something horrible happens. They have a bad reaction. They're one in the lightning bolt rare person that has the potential, some kind of crazy complication. So they're not winning their $1 million. Now they're landing themselves in a hospital or having some permanent lifelong problem. It's just so irresponsible because it's not based on any. It's just like bribing them with an experimental agent. That how can this be? This is so immoral. It just blows my mind. And you know what?
Immoral.
Most people, from what I'm reading on these posts and all the news posts that are putting this stuff out there, most people have such common sense. They see through this baloney. They see through the BS. They see through the totally. They just see this as insanity, and they call it for what it is.
Good, because I think the mind hive of the American people has way more common sense than the experts now. It's clearly obvious. Like, this is such a it's almost like it's part of this wokeism culture, where like you got to be more pro-vaccine. I'm not just pro-vaccine. I'm so pro-vaccine that I'll give you the chance to win a trip around the world, right? Like, it's this one-upmanship.
Like, this thing hasn't even been out for like a year. Like,
right.
Are you kidding me?
No, and look, okay, so if you're going to coerce people, all right, you're going to coerce people into taking an experimental agent, all right? Then you're going to be on the legal hook if shit goes bad.
Well,
so
I don't think so.
I think you are. I don't know how you're going to get out of it.
So who?
And I mean, if I would be
like, who's going to be on the legal hook? The each state?
Absolutely.
Well, that's so far where things are at. At first, they were talking. I know that OSHA had said that they were going to actually not, or how should I say it? If employers were requiring people to get vaccinated for a reason for employment, or they would be fired, then that the employer would be responsible if there was any complication. Well, I guess they just backpedaled on that
and then
the last day or so.
And then
they said now it's going to be up to each state government to deal with it.
Well, and then they came back, and OSHA said again, they said it's a workplace-related injury if you have a vaccine side effect that renders you unable to work. So basically, workers' comp's on the hook for that, which is horrible, which means the employer's on the hook for that.
But if the state's offering you Powerball tickets when you go into Kroger, like to get your groceries, and then, you're entered into these drawing for a free, like, fritter on a stick.
Right.
I mean, that's on the states.
No, but, okay, so, like, there's no-brainer people to get vaccinated, okay? May and I were vaccinated. We're in our 50s. We, work around COVID-positive patients. We don't want to be a vector. I've looked at the data. I think it's the severe side effects are exceptionally rare, but they're way more common than any other vaccine we've ever used. Okay, that I think is very easy to say, both anecdotally and from data. But having said that, we don't really know where the cutoff is. So should you be vaccinating 12-year-olds? I mean, did 12-year-olds get sick from COVID? Yes. Is the vaccine super effective? Well, they don't get that sick from COVID. Does the vaccine cause the myocarditis that they're talking about? Who knows? On and on and on. So when you start coercing people, you really poison the well.
These money prizes are not for kids. They're for 18 years and older.
Right, but even 18-year-olds, even if you're under 40 and you're really healthy, like, and you said, I wasn't going to get the vaccine. I'm 40. I run marathons. I'm in good shape. I'm good to go. And you get coerced into it for this $1 million prize. It's a free lottery ticket, and you have a catastrophic myocarditis from it. I would sue the shit out of the government.
No kidding.
And so, that's the problem. Is the well is now poisoned.
Yeah. I mean, you read these things and they're almost laughable, but it's disgusting. Like New Jersey. So there's like Kentucky, Maryland, of course, Oregon. But New Jersey, after announcing they have this thing called Shot in a Beer campaign, which offered vaccinated New Jerseyans free beer at select breweries and a free glass of wine at participating wineries. Uncork the vaccine. I mean, this is insane.
No, like
and daily lotteries, and it just goes on and on and on. Like, that New York's Vax and Scratch. I mean, come on.
Well, we think that just because it's a vaccine and we're used, here's the problem.
Well, what about the people that have had native COVID that don't want to get the vaccine?
Well,
so
they
now
absolutely shouldn't get the vaccine.
Now they're being discriminated because they can't enter the lottery.
They should get two lottery tickets because they suffered through the frickin' disease and survived it and have immunity. They should get a free, IgG test. They should get a free T-Detect test to absolutely determine their immunity, and they should get two frickin' lottery tickets.
And how about like their whole loss of work compensated for the 2 weeks that they're at home and for their family in quarantine? It's just crazy.
It's crazy. Like, you hear the word vaccine and you go and you think it's like pertussis, okay, or diphtheria, vaccines that we've had for a gajillion years, and we've done hundreds of millions of doses, and we know what it does. I know.
It's
not like this is a year. It usually takes 10 years to develop these because they want lots of long-term data and they want lots of what's called subset data. So, what happens to people with lupus? I don't know, because we haven't given it to enough people with lupus. What happens to pregnant women? What happens to pregnant women's children? What happens to pregnant women's children when they get pregnant?
Well, the thing is that here we are, two docs sitting here saying this, but it's amazing how many people, that we've met over the past week with no medical education, average people, people that I'm reading online that are saying the exact same things. People are intelligent. People are figuring it out, and a lot of people are really insulted by this.
Well, when all the powers that be are pushing something like crazy, then everyone goes, whoa, something's up.
You think?
And even if there isn't something up, they're going to go, whoa, something's up.
Yeah.
Like if all of a sudden they said, you have to eat Cheetos. Cheetos are unbelievable. Cheetos are like a superfood. It's amazing. We thought it was really crappy cornmeal that was going to make you fat and die, and it is a superfood. You got to eat. You know what? Cheetos market would
kale.
Go through the floor.
Cheaters, you want Cheetos to be the new kale. I know you do. I could see
we could start a campaign, and on it, there's always somebody to believe it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cheetos the new kale.
Well, this has been kind of a heavy, not so funny episode, other than making fun of all the ridiculousness out there. I don't know, how many winners, heroes did you count in that list compared to zeros?
It's mostly zeros because that's what we kind of. I don't know. I feel like I just strangely feel like I want to expand some of my cultural appropriation or whatever you say about that, and just give myself a really good dung bath.
Well, dear,
that would be the most memorable anniversary you've ever had.
There is a giant cow pasture in the backyard, and our neighbor would be happy to let you go roll with his calves. See you later. I'm not coming near you. Well, I hope you enjoyed some of that ridiculousness nonsense, but for real, really think about what's going on out there. I'm sure you've heard it, and you're wondering what is wrong with the world. But thanks for sticking around with us to the end. And don't forget to reach out to our sponsor, Larry Keller of Physician Financial Services, for any disability insurance needs if you're a physician. He's been around for a while in many physician communities, helping them with the coverage they need. And you can find Larry at drpodcastnetwork.com/Larry Keller. And I guess next week we will be probably bringing another episode of our really fun series on the doctor as patient. We've been getting a lot of really good feedback, and for that, we're grateful. The other thing I'd like to also mention before we go is that we have been getting some questions, and actually we're going to do an episode where we cover them. The questions are coming various ways. I know you're reaching out and messaging me on Instagram. There's been some through Facebook Messenger as well as through our website. So if you have any questions, and these are mostly COVID type ones, we will be answering them, but you can send us any kind of question, and we'll be happy to tackle that as well. So we'll do a actually listener question episode. So for now, thanks for being here, and please share this with a beloved friend, not an enemy. If you just give us a few likes, that really helps us out. We are here for you guys, and remember, this is for your entertainment purposes only. All right.
See you later.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit, uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more, and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
While we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible, we can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.